seeds, enacting the mind, gorilla, howling, hypnotic mantra, ultimate joke upon the earth, playing our mind, games forever, druids and witches lifting the veil, waging the mind, gorilla, some call it magic, the quest to unveil, reduced to zero, it is not absurd, reduced to zero, Pythagoras concurs, reduced to nothing, reality blurred, condensed to nothing, freedom assured, gambling on mind, games together, smashing barriers, planting seeds, propagandize the mind, gorilla, bellowing mantra, joke upon earth, playing these mind games forever, occult magicians lifting the veil, enacting the mind, gorilla, some call it magic, raw power unveiled. The game is the answer, you know that for sure. The game is a flower, propaganda endures. Reduced to zero, you know that for sure. Reduced to zero, Pythagoras concurs. Reduced to nothing, reality blurred. Condensed to nothing, freedom assured. So keep hustling, our mind games together, molding the future out of the now. You just can't whip all those mind gorillas. Absolute elsewhere, Stonehenge of your mind. Yeah, we're waging these mind games forever, projecting checkmate in space and in time. Yeah, combating these mind games forever, advancing our pawns with reason and rhyme. Now is the answer, and you know that for sure. Never surrender, you gotta endure. Now is the answer, you know damn well for sure. Never surrender, forever endure. So keep on playing those mind games together, doing the ritual, world under the moon. Keep on playing these mind games forever, lucid attainment of the year wheel. The game is the answer, you know that for sure. The game is a flower, propaganda endures. Now is the answer, and you know that for sure. Never surrender, forever endure.
Hello! You hear that? You hear that bad pop music? All sorts of dancey bad pop music here. Not out of choice, but I'm at a bar today. And anyway, if you haven't figured it out yet, you have just entered the wonderful, weird world of the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where we investigate all forms of magic. We talk about all things and stuff, and maybe the bad pop music in the background is indicative of what we're going to talk about today, because it's all about blinds, having things hidden. And maybe the background will be so annoying people will turn it off and they won't find the beautiful things I'm talking about. Or maybe they'll deal with it, or maybe you can barely even hear it. So anyway, we got another one that's going to start. So we're going to talk about Eliphas Levi today. And we're going to talk about Transcendental Magic, also known as the Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic. There are two distinct versions of this book out there that are most well known. One is translated by A.E. Waite, who, his name is connected to the Rider-Waite Tarot because he's the guy who primarily designed the deck alongside Pamela Coleman Smith. And he was around, late 1800s to the early 1900s when he existed. And he did a translation of Eliphas Levi's famous book. And then in recent times, Doctrine and Ritual High Magic was more importantly and acutely translated by Greer, Greer, Mr. Greer, and an accomplice. So the thing is, the new version that is translated, it is closer to the actual French and more in line of what he's actually trying to say. Whereas A.E. Waite's book is, you get a word that you can translate and you have multiple picks. And every single time he goes for the word that, it sounds like it's translated by an angry goth teenager or like some metal guy, where like everything is blackened, apocalyptic, this and this and this. Like whatever the rugged, hardcore sort of word he could pull out to make it sound more sensationalistic, that's what he chooses. So if you're going to read this thing, which you absolutely must, read the Greer version that came out a couple years, 5-6 years ago, something like that. So I wanted to talk about this book because it's fundamental in the history of magic. If you're just tuning in, you don't know anything about this. It's sort of like this. The history of magic is what it is up until a certain point. And then in the mid-1800s, 1854 to be exact, this Transcendental magic book comes out from a French author in France, blows up, gets super huge, gets all over the place, and it sparks the basically like the occult renaissance. Everything that we know today as it is, it all starts from the Keter of this book being dropped upon the world, Everything compacted to one point in time. So we have to talk about like what this book is and the deal with it. It's sort of extremely bunk, but extremely important at the same time. And I'm going to tell you why. So the deal here is that the importance. Okay, so this book is where you find where Baphomet is coming from, as far as like the goat-headed figure that you've seen. It's coming from this book. First time an upside-down pentagram is talked about, coming from this book. The first time anyone said the 22 tarot trumps are the 22 Hebrew letters comes from this book. So this book is divided, it's like 2 volumes in one book. Both of them have 22 chapters. Each one is supposed to be a different tarot card, the explanation, and then the second volume of the book is like the ritual around it. So what we have here is an interesting mess, because he set this book up on purpose where you'd really have to really study its intricacies to get the full message. It's like he's handing you a ton of information but putting the blinds on it at the same time. Number one is that anyone reading it, the way he structures the 22 tarot cards is where 0 isn't the first of the sequence. He sticks 0 in number 21 slot. And he starts it at number 1 with Aleph. He says Aleph is the magician. Okay, in the further explanations of the card from Golden Dawn onwards and occult lore we have today, Aleph is equated with the Fool, right? So, because you do the sequence 0 to 21, which is the world. 0 Fool to the world, 0 to 21, hence 22 letters. Now, part of the blinders of tarot is that when you do have 0 to 21, but yet you have the Hebrew letters drafted to it, the first Hebrew letter stands for the value of 1, yet it's equated with the Arabic numeral 0. That's because the numerals we use today, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that we all know, those are Arabic numerals that have existed ever since, and they were adopted everywhere. So up top on every trump, you have in Roman numerals the Arabic numbers, and then you have secretly, quietly, each card also represents a Hebrew letter. Like in the Rider-Waite pack, we're going to get all the Roman numbers up top, and then off the charts, if you don't know what's going on, you're not going to know about the Hebrew letters. It's sort of like it's hidden on purpose. So you get two systems concurrent. You get 0 to 21, and then you get the Hebrew 22, which is 1 to 22. Well, 1 to 22. there's 22 of them, but some of them have like way high, like in the hundreds digits that are connected to them. Now, I'm aware of these concepts. I don't completely understand how it all works because it's very, very complicated. But the long story short is that Eliphas Levi structured his book around all this stuff, but kind of obscured it and then put everything out of order, which everyone thinks he did so on purpose to fool the uninitiated so that they wouldn't get far in their dabbling and it wouldn't be used against them. Because a book of power like this is something that in the wrong hands and misunderstood could cause all kinds of damage, and he was very well aware of that. Now, the thing that you have to know about Eliphas Levi is that he was studying to be a Catholic priest, and he was a clergyman, but he wasn't down with celibacy, so he couldn't really take the vows. And then he kind of got like pushed out of the church, but stayed a fanatic. And his version of magic and his vision of magic is all tied into esoteric Catholicism, esoteric Christianity, Freemasonry, astrology, the Kabbalah, all this sort of stuff, right? I think he's Rosicrucian influenced. If not, I don't think he was Rosicrucian, but he was influenced definitely by ideas that they've been pushing. And you read his book, he knows a lot about like Greek and Roman gods and all this stuff, all this ancient history. So the thing I want to say about this book, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because what this is it's, first off, he's a guy that's existing in a vacuum. There's no Google you can turn to fact check stuff, and this guy's just super well read about bunch of different sources, and he has all this mystical stuff that is a mishmash of different things. And as he unveils the 22 chapters, he doesn't really spend time talking about the supposed Hebrew letter that's attached to it or the number value of that. He talks about the different tarot cards and what means on the tarot cards and the imagery means. But as he goes through the number 1 through 22, the things that he's talking about primarily in every chapter is essentially like Pythagorean number expansion. And it's all like, for instance, number 4, he says it's all about the tetragram or the tetragrammaton, which is the 4-letter name of God. Chapter 3 is the Triangle of Solomon. Chapter 2 is the Pillars of the Temple. Chapter 1 is the Candidate, the Magician card. This sort of stuff. It has to do with number magic primarily. It's kind of like what's screaming in your face. So what he's kind of given you is what 1 through, I don't know, he doesn't talk about Zeero enough. This is the thing, because this is a foundational text. It's basically like this book came out, and then everybody after him was like, he got a bunch of stuff wrong, but this and this. So why read this book at all is because it's a storehouse of magical lore. All kinds of stuff. You're going to learn tons and tons and tons of stuff from this, but you also have to understand that this is like a Catholic fanatic lost in his own fantasy, writing a lot of stuff that is historically inaccurate, and there's a lot of assertions that he makes that just aren't true. And if you read the A.E. Waite version, he constantly has footnotes about like, he's not correct in what he's saying. Like there's so many times that he's totally off base. But yet again, it's a powerhouse of magical lore. So it's sort of like it's something foundational, obvious, and important to read. But like I said, take it with a grain of salt. And it's really unfortunate that so many people are turning to this and they aren't aware of all the things that I've just described so far in the past 10 minutes. They just take it as fact, or they take it as this guy knows what he's talking about, and therefore it's the solid foundational history or whatever. So, like I said, I learned a lot of stuff from this guy, a lot of mythology, a lot of history, a lot of different concepts. But again, he's just taking a gigantic mountain of different stuff and this kind of sloppily throwing it all together. And that's the truth, in my opinion. But talking about the 22 chapters, just so you know, like I said, he starts with the Magician card, number 1, and it's supposedly supposed to be Aleph. It's like the Jewish, like I said, the Jewish letters, the Hebrew letters, are like an afterthought. He barely explores them. He just kind of throws it all out there. So it's the makings of everything. So anyway, we'll just say chapter 1 starts with the Magician card, and it's all about the candidate. He who steps up to be the learner of the mysteries. He's the first of the adepts. Then you go to number 2, and it's about the pillars of the temple. And that's pretty much about harmony, like the yin-yang, you could say. Is always a good example. Then he goes to the triangle, Solomon. On to the tetragram, or the tetragrammaton. The pentagram is number 5. So these are all important things that are of the number value equal to the Roman numerals you'll find on the tarot cards, right? So you can read them separately, like I said. You could. There's like 2 meanings you can pull out. What's number 1? What does the number magic of the Roman numerals mean? And then what is the actual like hidden Hebrew number magic and Hebrew explanations of each card? So anyway, 5 is the pentagram. 6 is equilibrium, magical equilibrium. Hence the Star of David. It's a ceremony of opposites, right? So he says, after equilibrium, you get the fiery sword. And then to realization. Then number 9 is initiation. Initiation into the greater mysteries. Number 10 stands for the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, I guess. The Sephirot. And then chapter 11, you get the magic chain. And it's about the chain of events created from your magical willpower extending into the outside world. Then you come to number 12, and it's all about the great work. How you're like a hanged man by the of your great work. Chapter 13, he goes into wackadoo Catholic territory and claims that the number 13 has to do with necromancy. Because it's the death card, right? He's got to go that way. I don't know anything about number 13 being considered a discordant number. Number 12 and number 15 are discordant numbers by Pythagorean Magick, and they're supposed to have spooky things attributed to them. But I don't know about the number 13. Like I said, that's hocus pocus. So he says number 13 is necromancy, right? Anyway, number 14, transmutations. Number 15 is black magic as a whole. And again, veering off into crazy Catholic land. I don't really agree with this. Number 15 is a discordant number and all that shit. But if you study how it all comes together, when you actually do get to the devil card, when you put the Hebrew letters 0 to 21 in that sequence, when you do get to the devil card, what it means is eyeball, which is the or eye, EYE, you know, it's being able to see through the bullshit in material sense, and the function that's connected to it is mirth. So sort of like playtime and being able to see. And anyway, he tries to turn it into black magic. And again, the eye is the hieroglyphic representation of the Hebrew letter, what it means, right? So you get to the Tower card, number 16. He says it's about bewitchments. Then the Moon card, charms and filters, about sorcery. And then you finally get to number 19, chapter 19, which would be the Sun. And he says, Stone of the Philosophers, which is an alchemical thing, of course. And then he inserts the Fool at number 21 and says it's all about divination, which means you have to move divination to the beginning of the sequence. And then the final chapter is summary and general key of the 4 secret sciences. All right. And then you jump to the second book. Now, the second book I haven't read that much because it's all kinds of hocus pocus about, like, you do this on this day wearing these garments and you use these metals and at this certain time of the day with these feathers and these colors, wearing these robes and doing this and this and saying this prayer. Like all this old ceremonial magic shit that is totally just irrelevant. You know, all these props, this theatrical shit. That's what he babbles on about. So chapter 1, The Magician, is about preparations. He says, High Priestess is about magical equilibrium, which is funny because magical equilibrium was the Lover's card previously, and it turns into the High Priestess. Then you get to the Triangle of Pentacles, the Conjuration of the 4, the Blazing Pentagram, the medium and mediator, the septenary of talismans, a warning to the imprudent, ceremonial of initiates, the key of occultism, the triple chain, the great work, necromancy, and you get transmutations once again, Sabbath of the sorcerers, the writing of the stars, witchcraft and spells, filters and magnetism, the mastery of the sun, the science of the prophets, and the thaumaturge. So, and then finally for the world, he has the Book of Hermes. So, the thing to understand here about this book is that it's just, like I said, absolutely loaded with magical lore throughout history. All kinds of wild esoteric secrets, all kinds of stuff to know. But it's all this stitched together, messy, volcanic eruption out of this Catholic fanatic who is living his own fantasy where he gets to be a ceremonial magician at the age of almost 50 after, you know, it's pretty sad when you read about this guy, about after almost becoming a Catholic priest, he ended up leaving and then he got married and he had 4 kids with this one woman and all of them died and then she left him. And then, you know, it was, you know, a while after that he started producing all this extreme literature, you know. So if you ask me, Transcendental Magic, his whole magic career is like, it's like the creation, some post-traumatic stress creation from a very dark life path. It's like he's escaping all kinds of pain and while becoming a ceremonial magician guy. But a lot of people, not everybody turns to magic on prom night. You know. They usually turn to this magic stuff, you know, when their life has gone awry or they need to fix things or things of whatever it is. They need a new source of power to reformat themselves and get motivated again and get the ball moving. Perhaps they're just extremely bored. They realize how bored they are with the world. So anyway, that's a big fucking ramble, and that's my honest opinion about Eliphas Levi. Brilliant madman lost in his own fantasy. And I recommend reading everything he's ever done, ultimately. The other books he completed that I have read, I've read all his stuff, I think. And a lot of them are like extremely ranty and extremely Catholic-oriented. And a lot of it, outside of Transcendental Magic, a lot of it can be kind of vague. And, you know, Transcendental Magic, he's very, very ranty in it as well. But he kind of like stays on point way more than he does his further works. So I recommend, I think it's called Ritual of the Sanctum Regnum. And it's about the tarot cards once again. And about how you can build a whole ritual to them using all the cards as steps and like what they are. And it was something that was like unpublished, like a secret key. and then it eventually got published at some point in the 1900s. I have read that one. That one was important. There's a book he did called Key to the Mysteries. Once again, super heavy Catholic influence, talking about that kind of stuff. But he says luminous things. He's like a prophetic madman who has a way with words, and he does throw shit out there constantly to keep you reading. But again, like I said, it's just a scattershot. So, he also has a book called The Book of Splendors, and you have to read that to find out what Baphomet is really all about. And if you knew what Baphomet was all really about, you probably wouldn't have a t-shirt of it or saying you're a Satanist with that as your logo. You'd have a completely different idea, because he's the guy who created it. He's the guy who drew it. So yeah, I think I've had you long enough. I hope that wasn't too boring. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show. And here's a hot rockin' outro just for you. Later, kids.
I had some schooling, but they threw me away for being in prison and refusing to pray. But still I'm grateful for the things that I've learned. And I learned, you gotta burn, you gotta burn. I knew a woman that was nothing but fine. Her only weakness was a gallon of wine. Come home one evening, surprise what I find. But I learned, you gotta burn, you gotta burn across the sky like a flame. You gotta burn before they give you a name. You gotta burn until the kingdom has came, and then you learn. You gotta burn, you gotta burn across the sky like a flame. You gotta burn before they give you a name. You gotta burn until the kingdom has came, and they learn. Oh yeah. Some velvet morning you wake up and you'll find a nest of vipers crawling out of your mind. The sun don't shine with any reason or rhyme. It's time you turn. You gotta learn. You gotta burn across the sky like a flame. You gotta burn before they give you a name. You gotta burn until the kingdom has came. You gotta burn, gotta burn, gotta burn.